What is blindness? Hey gorgies, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are discussing what is blindness. It's something that I'm asked an awful lot on this channel because blindness can be many things, many different conditions, and everyone experiences blindness in a completely different way. I know I do. To my other blind friends, I wanted to chat about it. Also, I'm getting asked a lot of questions on TikTok about this. If you want to follow me, I'm at Lucy Edwards Blind over there. We have a fun time doing 15-second to 1-minute videos all about blindness. Check it out and we'll get on with what is blindness. As I've said before on this channel, blindness is a massive spectrum and there are different degrees of blindness. Every person has a different visual acuity. It varies from country to country what functional blindness is. We'll discuss all of this today. What you may think is blindness, people typically describe it as complete black darkness. It's not that straightforward. Losing your light perception is very rare in registered blind people. We at least have some sort of light and dark. It doesn't mean it's usable. It doesn't mean we necessarily gain anything from it. And it might be that we have to have the light shone right in our eyes to be able to comprehend whether it's on or off. We might not be able to see out a window necessarily, but we might be able to see a really bright light. So everyone is different. You may have light perception being born blind. You might have light perception going blind at a later stage in your life. Total blindness occurs when the signals from your eyeball to the brain aren't working properly. Maybe you've got an optic nerve problem or your eyeball is removed altogether. Also, what I wanted to discuss is Charles Bonnet syndrome, which if you have lost your eyesight later on in life, like me, this may occur, which is basically sparks or flashing lights that are in your vision constantly when you shut your eyes, when you open them, visual hallucinations. Some may describe them as fireworks. They may always be there. With me, Charles Bonnet syndrome is very, very prominent in my day-to-day life. I always have hallucinations in my eyes. I know what they are, so they don't scare me. It's not necessarily something that really gets to me. It used to when I first went blind and started seeing them. It was quite shocking. These fireworks are there all day, every day, when I close my eyes, when I open them, in my dreams. They never dissipate, they never go away. It is very flashy in my eyes, sometimes quite distracting. It's just basically because my eyes and my brain are trying to work together, but it's all a bit blurred and it's trying to work, bless it, but it's just not working. Functional blindness. It's not necessarily a term used within the sight loss community, say on Twitter. It's not a term that's massively bandied around, but functional blindness is there because the consultants at the end of the day have to determine how blind is blind. i.e., when they register you as blind at the doctor's surgery, there has to be a point that becomes from visual impairment to blindness. Where is that line drawn? And, you know, how much is it affecting that said person who is blind? So for me, this isn't the case now. When I was first registered blind 7.5 years ago, I had significantly more sight than I do now. I'm almost totally blind, I would say. But 7 years ago, I was registered blind because I had a quarter of a working eye, and in that field of vision, I could just about see 660. And that is how they determined my blindness. That's when I was typically registered blind. I could still see something, but that's how they determined it on the forms. You know, I was a tactile brailleist. I couldn't read text anymore. What I would see at 6 meters away, a fully sighted person would be able to see that and be able to see it 60 meters away. That's how they measure it in the UK. Across the world, it's measured differently. I think the USA do 20 to 100. So what a blind person would see 20 meters away, the average sighted person would see it 200 meters away. There's different readings, there's different tests that consultants use, but ultimately, you know, you have very poor vision when you're registered blind. It's just when someone says, I'm blind, don't assume that they don't see absolutely nothing. You know, some people might have night blindness. Some people may have a lot more hallucinations than the next person that's registered blind. But it does really depend on the lighting, where we are. Is it really white? Does that mean our eyes are really going to hurt? You know, is it bright? You know, often a lot of people have photophobia, light sensitivity, and then all of their visuals go, and they actually, for that split second, lose the vision that they were registered with. Being blind and having dreams. Is it different if you're born blind versus having lost your sight later on in life? Can we still dream? What is up with that? Well, I personally, as someone who has lost their sight later on in life, don't dream like I used to when I was a sighted woman. So I used to dream in pictures. I would see images that I would have seen throughout the day. I would be able to almost reach out and touch those images because I had visual acuity. I had loads of things that I was seeing throughout the day. My brain was trying to comprehend them. Bob shabob, that's what I was living through in my dreams. Now, having been blind for 7 years, I would say the past few years, I dream as if I'm reading a storybook. I feel all the things that I'm feeling, you know, I really do have an emotional response. I feel like I'm in it, but it's almost like a first person recount, almost like a diary entry, like I'm sort of walking through my own thoughts. As if I'm sort of telling myself I'm in the room and there's other people in there with me. It's really interesting how it's changed and developed. Also, what I would say is a lot of blind people have nightmares. We are about 25% more likely to have nightmares, and I certainly do. I would say only dreams that I have nowadays are nightmares, and that sounds really morbid, but I don't dream that often. This is so personal. That's what I preface this with. You know, I'm not every blind person, and another person may say differently, but in my dreams, I don't see my visual hallucinations. It is literally just a storybook. It's thoughts, it's feelings. It's really interesting that a lot of people ask me, does my hearing get better because I'm completely blind? And my brain has rewired my visual cortex, sending signals of my touch and my hearing to that part of my brain. So it's very clever, but I wouldn't say my ears are better than a sighted person's. They just listen out for a lot more things, a lot more sounds. I utilize them more, and I have mobility training with my cane. I listen to my surroundings. That's how I get about. That's how I process the world around me. And obviously I'm going to be a bit more in tune to that. I mean, there's echolocation and all sorts of different things that blind people can harness that sort of sense about them. But as for physically hearing better, I'm not sure that we do, to be honest. I used to think maybe I did when I first lost my eyesight and I was posting YouTube videos. I was like, oh, I must be Daredevil, but no, that's really not the case. Thank you so much for watching my videos today. I really hope you learned more about blindness. Follow me on TikTok, I'm at Lucy Edwards Blind, Twitter at Lucy Edwards, Instagram at Lucy Edwards Official, and I will see you next week for a new one.